Just picture this for a second. A valley, but it's not filled with water. It's filled with this thick, toxic sludge that shimmers in these completely unnatural shades of orange, green, and turquoise. And right from the center of this bizarre lake, a single church steeple juts out, just defiant. It's the last thing you can see of a world that was literally swallowed whole. This is the incredible and tragic story of Geamăna, Romania's sunken village.
And no, what you're looking at right now, it's not some artist's surreal creation. This is a real place in Romania, a landscape completely scarred by industrial ambition. It's a photograph of a ghost village, drowned in its own valley.
People who've studied it have called it an ecological atomic bomb, and that is a powerful and pretty disturbing label. So we really have to ask, how on earth does a living, breathing village end up at the bottom of a poisoned lake?
To really understand, we have to go back to that haunting image of the church tower. See, it's not just a ruin. It's the final witness to a community that was completely and utterly erased from the map.
So we're deep in the Apennine Mountains of Romania. The village of Geamăna, once home to hundreds of families, is now buried under a man-made sea of chemical waste, and only the highest point of its church is still visible, for now anyway.
So how did this whole tragedy even begin? Well, it started with something valuable buried in the earth: copper. The nearby Roșia Poieni mine, it was one of the largest copper deposits in all of Romania. And digging it up, well, that would come at a terrible price.
And this timeline, it just shows you how terrifyingly fast this all happened. In 1977, the state decides, okay, we're going to use this valley for mine waste. Just 1 year later, families were being forced from their homes. And as you can see, it's not over. The sludge is still rising every single year.
And we need to be clear, this was not an empty valley. This number represents 400 families. That's 400 households forced to abandon their homes, their land, their entire history, all for the sake of that mine.
So what exactly makes this lake so dangerous? I mean, it's not just mud and water. The waste that poured out of that copper mine created this uniquely toxic and acidic chemical cocktail.
And to be really clear here, this is not a natural lake. It's what's called a decantation basin. Think of it like a giant industrial pond covering over 130 hectares, specifically designed to hold millions and millions of tons of mining waste.
So how did it get so incredibly toxic? It's this devastating chain reaction. First, pyrite, a waste product from the mine, gets dumped in. Then, when that pyrite mixes with air and water, it oxidizes and creates sulfuric acid. And here's the final awful step. That acid then acts like a solvent, just dissolving all the heavy metals from the sludge and releasing them directly into the environment.
And what exactly is in this poisonous brew? Well, it's a who's who of highly toxic heavy metals. The water, the sediment, it's all saturated with lead, cadmium, nickel, and copper, creating a permanent environmental hazard.
And the danger doesn't stop at the water's edge. When the sludge on the basin shores dries out, the wind can just pick up that toxic dust, carrying those same heavy metals into the air and threatening the health of anyone living nearby.
Beyond all the chemistry, there's a profound human cost here. This was so much more than an environmental disaster. It was the complete and total erasure of a community's entire way of life.
Residents were promised that their history, their past, would be preserved, that the cemetery, the resting place of their ancestors, would be moved. But that promise was broken. As one account puts it, they lied. Our dead are down there under the poison. The dead were just left behind, submerged right along with the village. The contrast between what was promised and what actually happened is just devastating. On one side, you have the promise of a safe relocation, and on the other, the reality, a tiny bit of compensation and a sacred cemetery drowned beneath toxic waste, a profound social injustice.
Now, the flooding of Geamăna might have started decades ago, but this story is far from over. Its toxic legacy is still a threat, and it serves as this powerful, really unsettling warning for all of us. So what would it even cost to fix this? Well, Romanian environmental authorities estimate a price tag of at least 15 million euros just to begin the cleanup. A staggering cost for a disaster that's been going on for over 40 years. And get this, here's a truly concerning detail. The environmental permit for this massive toxic dump, it actually expired back in 2011. which just raises all sorts of serious questions about oversight, accountability, and what, if anything, is being done to manage this ongoing risk.
Now, in a very strange twist, the site has become a destination. Tourists and photographers are actually drawn to its bizarre, colorful, and tragic beauty. It has, in effect, become an accidental memorial, a haunting monument to what happens when progress runs completely unchecked.
And ultimately, the story of Geamăna really forces us to ask a difficult question, a really important one. What is the true cost of progress? And who, in the end, is forced to pay it?